Hey, everybody, it's Billy, and I want to welcome you back to Harnessing Your Wealth. Today is going to be a fun day. We're going to talk with my special guest, Gwyn McNeal. And Gwyn is the Chief Legal Officer. Now, correct me if that was incorrect, Gwyn. Legal
Oh, that's
counsel,
correct. Chief
legal
Legal
counsel.
Officer. Yep.
Good, good. And, you know, work with a company here that started in Utah by the name of
Yep.
Extra Space Storage. So many of you have seen their buildings, seen their storage facilities. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the largest self-storage facility anywhere in the
Yeah,
U.S.
we're the largest in the country, and we're also the largest public company in the state of Utah.
Fantastic. So 4,000 plus separate
Yep.
locations all over the country. I'm sure there's a lot going on, a lot of employees, a lot of maintenance and understanding the markets, and, of course, knowing your customers. So Gwyn has a big job, and we're excited to have her on board with us here at Harnessing Wealth to give her background and maybe what it took for her to reach the pinnacle in this career, and has such a great career with this longstanding company in Utah. So again, thanks for joining us, Gwyn.
My pleasure. Thanks for asking me to be here.
You bet. So tell us, let's go back. Let's go a little bit back. I'm interested
Okay.
in your story, and you grew up here in Utah. I know your parents, actually. So tell us about your story. It's growing up and kind of, your family life and things.
Sure. I grew up in a big family here in Salt Lake City, Utah, for the most part. We moved around when I was younger, but junior high, high school, and college were all here in Utah. I went to BYU undergraduate, and then I went to law school at USC. Made my way from USC to San Diego, where I practiced law for about 10 years with a firm called Latham Watkins, and then moved back to Salt Lake City in 2000, where I started practicing here, and then joined Extra Space in 2005. And have been here ever since.
So
So I
you,
know that was a very
that
condensed
was
version.
condensed.
So tell me what else I can
No,
tell you.
that was good.
So
I want to go into a lot of things. That
yeah.
what was your primary focus when you were practicing on your own, maybe independent?
Sure. I was in real estate finance and public finance at Latham Watkins. Worked in that department for a long time. Started I After being there for I think 5 or 6 years. I had my first daughter, and started to see that it probably wasn't going to be the right lifestyle choice for me. Big law tends to ask a lot,
Yeah.
and it was tough for me to try to juggle family life and big loss. So went part-time at Latham for a couple years, and part-time meant still 45 hours a week. So
Mm.
decided to get out, move back to Salt Lake City, to be closer to family, as well as just a little bit better lifestyle as I was trying to cut back a bit.
You grew up in a big family, and now you have a
I grew
big
up in a
family.
big family, 7 kids. I have 5 brothers and a sister. There were lots of sharp elbows, but we're all
You learned how to
it was
compete. I
fun.
mean,
We're great friends now.
yeah, good. Does that? I mean, what kind of skills did your parents instill in you when you were younger? Like, you seem like all of your siblings, have good careers. Seemed like the ones I know. What
Yep.
was it that was instilled in you as a young child?
So it was a bit of a free for all in our house. Like I was different with my kids in terms of just knowing exactly what was happening. Our house was, it one of my friends described our house as Disneyland meets Lord of the Flies. Um, my parents were super social. All their kids were super social. So we had tons of people coming and going. But they did always instill in us the importance of education. It was kind of, we all took very different paths, and it was up to us to kind of find those paths. But it was always expected that we were going to get a good education and be productive members of society.
At what point did you know law was for you? I mean, did somebody encourage you for that, or did you just come into that on your own?
So I kind of found it on my own. Not a lot of lawyers in our family. I'm an amputee. I was in an accident when I was a child with a lawnmower. Lost my left foot, and my mother told me that pretty early on. I started to talk about the fact that I was going to have to do something with my brain. I think I'd planned to be a ballerina or something. Some of those dreams you have when you're a young child. And so I started to realize pretty early on that I wanted to do something that would require me to use my brain. I knew I was, did well in school, those types of things. So I wouldn't say that I always knew I wanted to be a lawyer. But as I got into school and was really looking for something that would be a productive career, something that I could excel at, that's how I ended up going into law. That, and I wanted to be an English major, so you got to go do something else when you're an English major. So.
Is passing the bar as hard as everyone says?
I've had to do it a couple of times.
Really?
So
Because you let it lapse, or with the family?
no, because I took my first bar in California.
Mm.
And California does not give reciprocity to the state of Utah.
Oh, really?
So,
well, of course, California is hard about everything.
Yeah, they think they're a little special. So,
yeah.
So I took the bar in California straight out of law school, and then about a decade later took it in Utah. So, it's not fun if you prep. Then it's a fairly high pass rate. I think California might be a little lower. I think it might be 60 or 70%. But I think Utah's about 85%. So
what's the test like? I'm just curious. Is it a lot of multiple choice, or is it like writing out responses? And
so it's been a long time since I've taken it. I think California is now 2 days. It used to be 3. So I think all states now are 2 days, but I could be wrong on that because it's been a while. But it was, everybody takes the nationwide multiple choice test, and it's on various topics, and then there's usually about a day of essays as well. In California there were 2 days of essays. So
that's the part I don't like. Essays are not fun.
Second time I took it in Utah, I was pregnant with my 4th daughter. And had to be on like anti-nausea medication so I could make it through 2 days because I was still had morning sickness. So that was.
Let's go back to your, what happened with the lawnmower injury. How old were you then?
I was almost 5 years old. And so we were living in Ohio at the time.
Ohio.
Yeah. Everybody had huge yards. It wasn't a farming accident, but our neighbor had a driving tractor mower. My sister and I were out playing outside by her, and I slipped and fell in front of the lawnmower.
I mean, it was somebody was driving it and mowing the lawn.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. How tragic. Was that difficult for you to kind of go back and socialize at school? Did you have the experience of kids teasing you?
I was young, and kids were amazing at that age. I mean, kids, the most amazing part about them is they're really open. They want to know. They're not going to pretend like nothing happened. They will, ask you the really blunt questions. Mm-hmm. If they don't ask the question, they're going to stare. That I got really used to and was very comfortable with. I'm pretty open on things. I'm discussing topics, on not trying to hide the ball. It got a little trickier at, kind of junior high age. Kids aren't always that nice. I think my reaction was to go on the offense. I was probably a little bit of a bully because I didn't want to get bullied. So not my proudest time. So anybody I bullied out there in junior high, I'm sorry, it was me, not you.
Traumatic experiences lead to some kind of responses that we don't often want, but we understand. So when you were going through life, and was there ever a point in time where you just kind of maybe wanted to feel more victimized and feel like you got the short straw? Did that ever limit you in your thinking?
No, I don't know. I mean, I think I would credit, my parents and that big family with just, there there wasn't time, room, or acceptance for anything like that. I was sort of expected to do all the same things as my siblings, with a few limitations.
Yeah.
I've since then run, I think, 4 or 5 marathons, probably a dozen or so half marathons. Avid pickleball player, tennis player, all that.
So you
All
just
that.
you just continue with life, and
Yeah.
there's no poor me kind of mentality.
Yeah.
You're just going.
And I would say they've also made amazing strides in prosthetics.
Yeah.
The literal wooden legs that I grew up using, I could have never run a marathon in,
Wow.
but nowadays, I mean, I've got a running blade for running. I've got other carbon fiber legs for tennis and all sorts of.
I've seen those. They're big and kind of charitable causes, the prosthetic companies that support athletes, and I've seen them at different marathons where they're there, and there are actually tons of runners who are participating now with the prosthetics.
I did when I first got my running blade. I started running about a year before that. I was at a fun run here in Salt Lake. I ran it with my, I think, 8 and 10-year-old daughter at the time. And I was so proud of my new blade. And a guy came up to me and started to ask me about it. I was so excited to tell him. And he turned to me and goes, I just think that's a really unfair advantage that you get to run these races with that blade.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And everybody's asking, what was your response? And honestly, I was so shocked that was what he said, that I sort of sat there open mouth while he walked away. And then, of course, after that, I thought of all the responses I should have said. But.
You talk about egotistical. I mean, so he's worried about.
Yeah, it was literally it was a family fun run.
Wow.
I was with my kids running it.
That's wild. I did have an unfair experience once where a lady in a trail run. I was in a trail run, and she brought her dog along, and the dog basically pulled her the whole way.
Yes, I have a dog like that. I call it the e-assist. When I hit a hill and I'm going too slow, my dog drags me up it. So.
Yeah, that's helpful. I just tie myself to a bumper and head up.
Yeah,
that's good stuff. So you once dated Steve Young. Is that correct?
No, that's my sister.
Your sister did.
Yep,
okay.
That's my sister.
Your
so
sister.
that's Terrell. Yep. Okay. So we're about 18 months apart, and we were down at BYU together. Terrell, yeah, she dated Steve Young. That was not.
Okay,
not me.
got you. Well, we cleared that up. So,
okay.
But you probably met him then, and
oh yeah. Well. His sister was my roommate.
You knew all that. Okay.
So, yep.
Pretty cool experience for a guy that went on and did what he did in his career. I guess you were a football fan, or not really? Not so much?
I mean, if anyone's met my dad, you can't grow up in my house without knowing that BYU is the true school and should win all
the way.
all challenges. But it was by osmosis. Yeah. But no, not a giant football fan.
I see. But you guys, you're into sports, right? Athletics. You talk about you're into racket sports.
Yep. I don't think I necessarily have watched a lot of sports other than my kids as they played, soccer and volleyball and stuff growing up. But yeah, definitely all the racket sports, lots of endurance sports, water sports, all that stuff.
Good.
So.
Well, it's an amazing story that you did what you did and had the successful life. You're risen.
And you rode horses, right, Billy?
Right.
Yeah. I had a hunter jumper horse growing up.
Did you?
So spent lots of time out at the barns and doing that.
You
stuff,
guys were involved in a lot of things. Your mom fascinates me because she's always talking about the ranch in Montana and growing up there and spending a lot of time there. And her and I have this keen bond where we talk horses all the time. When I see her, she loves that part of it. But I grew up riding the fast ones. It was
you were riding the much faster ones than
the danger zone, and trying to go faster. You never go fast enough, really.
Yeah.
And now I just own them. So if you ever want to get in on a racehorse, Gwyn, I'm the guy.
Racehorse, oil well, all those things.
Anything you're looking for.
Yeah, I'm a lawyer because I'm a bit risk averse. So.
Yeah, I've been around a few lawyers, but I have some friends who were attorneys that own some pretty good horses in their day. So I think they just need a partnership. They don't want to take all the
Okay.
risk on themselves.
There you
They
go.
like to spread it out.
Yep.
Yeah. What's your day-to-day life like there now in your career?
So when I joined Extra Space in 2005, so about 20 years now. When I came on, I was part time. I had four daughters, the age 1 to 8, and so I was looking for a bit of lifestyle. Extra Space was a client of mine. I had been helping them in some of their acquisitions, so I joined to do. We had just acquired a large company and had gone from about 200 facilities to about 800 facilities. So I started the legal ops side of things, which was essentially dealing with difficult customers, auctions, all of our vendor contracts, and it was great. I did that for probably close about 8 years. And I had a mentor come to me and he said, so what's your next plan? I'm like, I'm loving my life.
Yeah.
I work part-time. I have this great work-life balance. It's going great. And he just said, well, first, your kids aren't going to be there forever. And you only get some of these opportunities every so often. So you need to start, deciding if you want to take that next step. So I'm embarrassed to admit I had to have somebody help push me because I was really comfortable where I was. And so I started to kind of take a look at the CLO position. My boss was starting to get close to retirement age, and kind of really started to work with my mentor and position myself to be ready for that role. So when it came up, I transitioned in 2013, and about a year later also took over HR. And so HR reported up through me for a decade, and really, really loved it. I felt like I added a lot of value to our executive team, some different viewpoints. I've always been the only woman on the executive team, and it worked with a lot of terrific folks there, from our CEO to our CFO, working with our board, all of the public company aspects of Extra Space.
What's the kind of breakdown the biggest part of your role from from chief legal officer? What do you spend most of your time doing? Is it looking at buying making sure documents are drawn up correctly, or dealing with lawsuits, or what do you do?
So I have a great team of lawyers. So I have a couple of lawyers who do our acquisitions, so buying our real estate properties. I work on our M&A side. So most of the property that we buy is going to be buying the real estate itself, operating self-storage facility or a piece of land that maybe we're going to develop. That's handled by my acquisitions team, and they're terrific. If we're buying a company, in particular, like a public company, we purchased another public company in 2023, where we acquired a company that was, I think they were about $14 billion. So something like that is a 6-month project that takes a ton of work of marshaling the different legal teams, working with our board to make sure we've got all of the proper disclosures, and the board has approved everything properly, and then just working through with the SEC to get approval on that.
All the regulations.
Yeah. Litigation, I also have a great litigator on my team. He handles most of our day-to-day litigation. I get involved in working with it when they're class actions or high dollar amounts. But for the most part, he's running most of that litigation and then kind of reporting back through me as to what's going on there.
Now, Gwyn, this is going to sound silly, but why would someone ever want to sue Extra Space Storage? I bet you've seen some crazy stuff.
Self-storage is like my favorite topic at a cocktail party, because it's just amazing what people use our storage facilities for. I mean, most often they're slip and falls, right? We have several million customers. When you have that many people coming through your property, there's bound to be some slip and fall incidents. So that's what the majority of it is. We do with, we have over 8,000 employees, so we have employment litigation as well. And then various class actions. Love all my fellow lawyers, but the plaintiffs bar can be pretty aggressive and looking for areas to bring class action lawsuits
Like
against.
securities violations or other things?
Not often securities violations. We've had a couple, I think we've had a couple when we've had some public company acquisitions. Those always pop up. But for the most part, California wage and hour is rampant right now, where if there's the slightest technical violation, they can bring a class. So those are a lot of what we see. There is a new junk fees law in California on how you disclose full pricing in California, and we've seen class actions hit around things like that.
I see.
So those are kind of the types of things that you tend to see.
When you're talking about wild stuff you guys have witnessed, what happens when someone's leased a unit or a storage facility and then they're gone?
Yeah, I would say our tenants are about the most creative tenants you'll ever see out there. So the vast majority, 99.9% of our tenants are using it to do exactly what they're supposed to be using a storage facility for. But when you have as many tenants as we do, you see some really interesting things. So we've had lots. One of the things is by zoning, we can't have anyone living in our facilities. We've had lots of people live in our facilities. Wow. I mean, that happens. Really? That happens constantly.
I had never thought about that before.
Yep. I mean, a lot of it is sort of the unhoused and folks who are trying to find affordable housing, but unfortunately it can't be our facilities. We've had people try to convert their storage units into man caves where they've got
just hang out with their buddies all day.
A bar and a couch and a big screen TV, but they're not supposed to be using our power for things like that. We've seen brothels, wow. Not often. That one's a rarity. Also stored for, drugs, things that they're not supposed to store. We've seen a lot of different things. So.
Have you ever found a dead body in one of those facilities?
Oh, yes.
Really?
Oh, yes. Yes. Unfortunately, I think it happens. It's not constant, but it's fairly regular. I think sometimes people feel like if they're going to die by suicide, that it will be easier on their family to not find them, but they forget that we have site employees who end up finding them, and it can be really, really traumatic for our site employees. And then sometimes it's just somebody is in their unit and has a heart attack. But yeah.
Wow. What about, do you ever have the police involved or FBI or anybody investigating things and come?
Yep. We work really carefully with them. We don't want bad actors using our storage facility for things like that. In fact, sometimes we will even allow the local police to use it as a training ground for running drug dogs. Wow. They have to still come back with a warrant if they find anything. They rarely do, but we like having a police presence to make sure that we don't have folks utilizing our storage facilities to store drugs or, other suspicious items. If you've seen Storage Wars, you know that if someone doesn't pay on their unit, then we go in and auction it. And so we have found all sorts of different things. I mean, one of our district managers found, I think it was about $1 million cash.
Wow.
In
did that get auctioned?
That did not get auctioned.
Dang.
Drugs and guns don't get auctioned, but we found those as well. And then sometimes, honestly, they'll rent a unit and fill it full of stuff they don't want to deal with and let it go to auction and make us deal with it. We found a unit full of stacked top to bottom of used tires, and then we've got to figure out how to dispose
get rid of that. So I've never seen auction wars, but how do you guys handle it if somebody fails to pay after a year, whatever time frame that's
Yeah.
gone by?
So it's all legislated by every state. Every state tells you exactly what you have to do. If they're when they're this far delinquent, you send this notice. When they're that far delinquent, you send that notice, and then you move forward to an auction. So we follow the law in every state. Some states I think are as short as 60 days. Others are as long as about 4 months of delinquency. We send out the notices. Sometimes I think people sometimes they're trying to pay and can't, and we really try to work with those customers to do kind of a pay to vacate, if they'll take their stuff and go. And then other times they've just disappeared and aren't interested.
Yeah.
We did have somebody put her soon-to-be ex-husband's all his worldly possessions in a storage unit and just told him it's in a storage unit somewhere in Vegas. Good luck. But if you don't pay by this date, they're going to auction it off.
Figure it out, right?
Yep, I think he finally figured out which unit it was, but I think he was calling
Oh my.
every single storage company in Vegas. So.
Oh, I bet there's some crazy stuff going on in some of those units. That's wild. That I'm always fascinated to know how people live. You know, you kind of you can see it sometimes in the way their house looks or how they keep it,
Yeah.
and then you go,
Yeah.
I bet you guys see some wild.
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of like small businesses that use it, you know, landscapers for their equipment,
I see.
staging companies, people who stage real estate. They'll use it for things like that. We have a lot of folks moving. Those are sort of the normal uses. And then people who just need a little bit more space. So it's for various reasons. We do have also a certain percentage of folks who are trying to get to that better tomorrow where they may be living with parents or, you know, kind of couch surfing and trying to hold on to their belongings there until they can really get themselves back on their feet and a little bit more stable as well.
You know, it's crazy the concept of this storage type business. I remember clear back in the day, this was a company called Public Storage, which I think was one of the early adopters of this idea.
Public Storage was one of the earlier ones, one of the first ones to go public.
It was Wayne Hughes out in California, and he was a big time thoroughbred horse owner. So I had the occasion to have breakfast with him often after the race, you know, the morning workouts, and I knew a lot of the trainers, and he was a big owner out there, had some good horses. But it was before he started it, and one day he was telling somebody that this was before he was telling this guy. So I'm hearing this story secondhand after it had occurred. But he told this guy, I'm thinking about starting a business where I have garages for people and just have one place and where people could have garages. And they all relayed this story years later. They all laughed at him, thought he was ridiculous, how stupid that was. And he went with it anyway, and of course became a billionaire.
Wayne was a visionary. He was definitely one of the pioneers in the industry. Created a juggernaut of a company. Public Storage is an amazing company.
Why is Extra Space now surpassed it? What have you guys done right?
So honestly, we were kind of a lagging competitor size-wise for a long time. It was when we acquired Life Storage, which was, I think, the third largest storage. We were always number 2 in size. We acquired Life Storage in 2023, and the combination of our stores and their stores put us at the largest in terms of stores. If you look at market cap, Public Storage is bigger than us. Public Storage we have a lot of our stores that are either owned by a third party and we manage them, or that we joint venture. So we don't own 100% of our stores, whereas Public Storage, they own almost, I think they have a small third party management program, but they own almost all their stores. So I think they're probably a top 5 REIT in the nation. Their market cap is huge. They're a great competitor and a good company.
I see. Well, you guys have done a phenomenal job, and I know it's just really thriving here from grassroots right here in Salt Lake City, and you've done some great things. So we
need the housing market to pick back up.
Sure.
Housing, people moving, people on the move is what always helps the most. Sure. we were a COVID winner when everybody was moving across the country. So storage is still, it's really stable. It's a great business to be in, but we're excited when the housing market opens back up, as will be a lot of industries.
Do you have plans for expansion, additional units this year?
Yeah. Yes, we're always in acquisition mode.
Always growing.
So,
Buying real estate, you're just looking for places in different towns that you.
yeah, we have a real estate investment committee that all of our properties come through. For if it's over a certain size, all of our executives sit on it. If it's below, I think 10 million. If it's below 10 million, then it's just our CFO, our COO, and our CEO who make those decisions. But yeah, everything comes to a real estate investment committee. We look at saturation in the market of storage. We look at population size, income, and expected growth. We'd rather be in cities where we see growth coming than in cities where we don't. We also look at, in particular for operating properties, we'd look at barriers to entry. You're going to have a lot harder time building storage in certain states and cities than others, and so that's something that we look at as well.
What's the average monthly cost on a storage unit?
I mean, well, we have anything sizes from lockers that are, I think, 2x5 to 20 by 40 drive up units. So it's going to vary greatly. Our big drive up units are going to be $1,000 or $2,000. Our most typical size is probably a 5x10, and those range from about $100 to $250 a month, depending on the market.
Very reasonable.
So, yeah.
Well, for all the people that buy a lot of clothes and don't know where to put them,
yeah, there you go.
Funny comment. We have a house just to keep our stuff while we're out buying more stuff. So
yeah,
we have to have a place to put everything, right? Well, Gwyn, it was so fun to talk to you today.
Thank you, Billy. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, it was a great time. Appreciate you joining us. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in today to Harnessing Your Wealth. Stay tuned for the next episode. Take care out there.
Thanks.
Thanks, Gwyn. Appreciate you being on.
You.
Thank you for listening. For more information about today's show, please check out the show notes. Visit our website at www.petersonws.com or give us a call at 801-475-4002. Peterson Wealth Services is a registered investment advisor. This is a paid-for advertisement. Information presented on this program is believed to be factual and up-to-date, but we do not guarantee its accuracy, and it should not be regarded as a complete analysis of the subjects discussed. Discussions and answers to questions do not involve the rendering of a personalized investment advice, but are limited to the dissemination of general information. A professional advisor should be consulted before implementing any of the options presented. Peterson Wealth Services.